Welcome to the latest edition of Locked On Warriors. On today's show, KRON 4 sports anchor and reporter Kylen Mills joins me, and I got a special guest, folks. I've been hyping it up on the show's Twitter account at Locked On Dubs. We're going to break down the potential game one on Sunday, and if it's not Sunday, it's going to be Tuesday, and just talk Warriors and a whole lot more. And again, we are live, folks, so we'll take all of your chats, all of your questions, all of your takes. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter at Kylen Mills. And Larry Krueger wearing the Dodger hat. You can follow him on Twitter at SportsLarryK. My man, we started this a little late because your show was blowing up, the Krueg Show. You were talking about the Niners draft. We could talk about that at the end of the show if for any Warriors fans that want to talk Niners, because I think that's a train wreck. But let's first talk about the Warriors. And I'll start. First of all, Larry, how does it feel wearing a Dodgers hat, man? You bleed orange and black, dude. I know this hurts.
It does hurt. And why don't we explain why I'm wearing the Dodger hat?
Go for it. I'll let you. Or do you want me to? I don't care.
I picked the Nuggets. I picked the Nuggets to beat the Warriors in the first round. It was going to be a financial deal, and then Sai said, "I'll let you off the hook if you just wear Dodger gear."
But that's so much more painful than letting go of $50 for Giants fans. Like, I cannot tell you. So on opening day, I wore like a light blue suit. I can't tell you how many Giants fans came up and were like ready to accost me. And they're like, how dare you wear blue on opening day? I'm like, it's not Dodger blue. And they're like, but it's blue. Like, it's just so funny how passionate these fans are. Seriously.
Oh, they take it real. It's a real deal here.
Well, let's talk about
looks good on you.
Thanks.
It does look good. The blue does look good, actually, even though I know you hate it. But speaking of blue, the Warriors wear blue, so you can at least wear the blue and pride in that regard, the blue and gold. Who are we preferring? Like, what do you two are in your minds is the ideal matchup? I mean, I personally think it's the Timberwolves. Regardless, I'm hoping for Game 7, so the series doesn't start till Tuesday. What do you two think? I'll start with you, Kylen.
I definitely prefer the Timberwolves as far as a matchup for the Warriors. I mean, the Grizzlies scare me. They had the Warriors number all season long. Ja Morant, one of the most electric players in the NBA. We saw what he did in Game 5 of that series. I mean, he's just incredible. He can go off at any time. And a lot of people this whole season have been comparing him to Steph Curry or saying he's the next Steph Curry. And I mean, I think he has the potential to be a generational talent. We're starting to see it. He still hasn't proven himself yet because he has yet to lead, his team to that coveted first playoff series win. But the Grizzlies scare me. Also, another thing I really was looking at the end of last game is the Warriors are struggling on the boards, and the Grizzlies led the NBA in the regular season in rebounds per game. So I don't like that matchup. That's one stat that would really concern me. But in general, I think the Timberwolves are the favorable matchup for sure.
Oh, Larry, what are your thoughts, man? We talked about this, and again, for people who are interested, I join you, Larry, on the Krueg Show after every Warriors game. Kylen, you joined once, but I bounced, and then you came in. Kylen, I know you just got married. Congratulations on that. I'm guessing that's why you've been busy, but I hope you join me again for Larry's show. There is way too much testosterone. We need a little estrogen boost in there.
Seriously.
But Larry, go for it, man. What are you hoping for the Warriors' opponent in the next round?
Well, I mean, first of all, I totally get where Kylen's coming from. Sai, you and I have had this conversation a couple times already about T-Wolves versus Grizzlies, and I see where she's coming from. But I'll tell you what's scary to me is trying to match up with Karl Anthony Towns right now. And that to me, I'll say the T-Wolves are the team I don't want because, I realize they split with the T-Wolves. They lost 3 out of 4 to Memphis. And Memphis is an incredibly solid inside team. They block shots. They rebound the basketball. Yeah. But I think where Golden State potentially can break down in this series is if Minnesota, if Karl Anthony Towns can dominate offensively inside to a level where everything else kind of opens up because they kind of break Golden State down because Golden State has no big to really. I mean, Kevon Looney has been atrocious in my mind. I mean, I love Kevon Looney as a guy, but I just don't think that he didn't look good in this last series. I don't want to see him on the floor against Karl-Anthony Towns. I think Towns is going to eat his lunch. So when that happens, as I expect it to happen, then what? Can you just throw Draymond Green on Karl-Anthony Towns? Is Green going to do as good a job with Towns as he did with Jokic? They're different players. So I kind of fear Towns and him just piling up points in the paint, and maybe that opening things up for some of their perimeter players. So I'll say T-Wolves. I think it's close, but I'll say T-Wolves because I fear Towns and what he potentially could do to Golden State at this juncture.
And that's a great call, and again, we're live today. This doesn't happen often with Locked On Warriors. Bantha person chiming in saying, no way the refs allow their golden boy Jaw to lose. We've seen a lot of influence from the refs in the postseason so far, for better or for worse. And that's another aspect is if the Warriors face the Timberwolves, they get home court. And these refs are blowing the whistle a lot more in favor of the home teams. I don't know if it's human nature, just being afraid of 20,000 people yelling at you. Who knows how many psychopaths are in that crowd? Whereas they don't get home court if it's the Grizzlies. Do you think the Grizzlies, Timberwolves will go to Game 7? Who do you think is winning that series? Excuse me. Kylen, I'll start with you.
So my money is on the Grizzlies. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes to Game 7, but you just mentioned that home court advantage I think is huge, and the referees are a factor, the crowd's factor, that sixth man is a factor, and I think the Grizzlies take it in 7. That's my hard prediction. I mean, to me, the Timberwolves have had this series in their hands, and they've somehow let it slip away. So I wouldn't be shocked if they force a Game 7 and then once again choke. I'm sorry, but they've choked.
They do. No, that's perfectly fair. I mean, Larry, what do you think, man? Who do you think is going to actually win this series and face the Warriors in the next round?
I think it'll be Memphis. I think it seems like Memphis is kind of in control of the series from what I can tell. I mean, I've watched about 85% of that series so far, and it just seems like Minnesota got off to a nice start, and it looked they carried some momentum off of the regular season into that thing, but Memphis has now responded, and I think that I don't think we'll see another momentum shift going back to Minnesota. I think Memphis is going to have enough to get by, and they're rugged and they're smart, and I think their coach should be the coach of the year. So I mean, Memphis is no picnic for Golden State, as we all know, but I think it will go 7. And I think it'll be competitive right to the end, but I like Memphis to edge their way beyond the T-Wolves and get to that second round.
That's fair. So we're all picking the Grizzlies to win the series. I don't think there's any question to it. The Timberwolves might win tonight. You never know. And then we'll see a Game 7 on Sunday, and let's hope for that if you love the Warriors. So let's say it's the Grizzlies. All right. And this is their next round opponent. I haven't done like full research yet. I started taking a look at the 4 matchups this season. The Warriors had like this amazing stretch in December where in the span of 3 days, they beat the Grizzlies at home. It was 113-104. And then they went to Phoenix and beat the Suns on the road. That was the moment where I saw this Warriors team and thought they're going to win the whole thing. When they played the Grizzlies, and Kylen, I'll start with you. The Grizzlies are a long team, but they don't have that dominant center like they just saw with Jokic. Right. They're not going to face a dominant center like they would with the Timberwolves. They get to avoid that, but they have to face a lot of long, athletic individuals. So let's say this is Warriors Grizzlies, and if you're listening to the show and the Timberwolves somehow pull that off, blame me for this. But let's focus on the Grizzlies. I really think that's who they're going to face. What do you see happening in that series? I mean, again, the Grizzlies won that season series 3-1, but it was kind of like the Nuggets, where you just one of the games you saw none of the Warriors star players playing. The Warriors are missing individuals in all of those games, even when they beat the Grizzlies. How do you see it? What is your forecast?
I think, like you said, I think the big strong point for Memphis and the advantage they have over the Warriors is that dominance inside. It's their length. It's, the rebounding ability, the rim protection. Who I'd like to see get more minutes if we do end up with the Grizzlies matchup is Jonathan Kuminga. I think off the bench, he could be, a key factor in that. And I like some of the minutes that he got in this last Warriors game. But like you said, you're not facing a Karl Anthony Towns. You're not dealing with a Nikola Jokic. However, I think the Warriors can beat them just with their guard play, with their backcourt play. I still don't think that the Grizzlies, and I said the same thing about the Nuggets, have an answer for Clay, Steph, and Jordan Poole all out on the floor at the same time. I just don't see how a team, and, I think that it would be a lot tougher once the Warriors get up against the Suns. And I'm going to say that I do think the Warriors should win a series against the Grizzlies because, once again, the Warriors weren't healthy all season. Like what we're seeing right now, we did not see all season long as far as the Warriors' big three being healthy, along with Jordan Poole finally back in the mix. So I think the Warriors do edge out the Grizzlies. I think it's going to be very tough. I think they're going to have to really commit when it comes to rebounding and getting to their spots on the boards, because in this last game that was concerning to me against the Nuggets. But a lot of it is just getting to your spots, boxing out. Klay Thompson led the Warriors in rebounding in this last game. What does that say? I mean, it's not all about size. Yes, size is a factor, but I think they could overcome that. And with those three, playing in the Warriors backcourt, essentially, I mean, I think they're dangerous. I don't see the Grizzlies coming out on top.
That's a great point. And Sandris Rux writes, y'all talking about Ja, but who is he going to guard? Steph, Clay, or Jordan? Because all three of them can eat him up. I so wholeheartedly agree with you. Larry, I would love your insights on that potential matchup. But first, we got to talk about a very long time a sponsor of this program. And I'll tell you this, folks, if the Warriors eat their Built Bars, they're going to take care of the Grizzlies. Summer is coming. And with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are that perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. I need to hook you two up some Built Bars. So next time I do one of these reads and you're on with me, you can give your personal endorsement of it. And then you can just throw them in the bag. Here's what I love about Built Bars. They have just a fraction of the calories as a candy bar. You got about on average 130 with each one. But sugar is a toxin. If you ever want to lose weight, folks, if you ever want to be healthy, folks, cut the sugar out. And with a Built Bar, you only get 4 grams of sugar per bar. That's so low. Yet simultaneously, you're getting 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar that is 30 grams of sugar on average with each one and dozens of net carbs. So just go to built.com to get all your favorites, whether it's banana cream pie, double chocolate, cookies and cream, which is my favorite, and so much more. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. It's yumminess with some health. That's hard to find. Zion Williamson, take note. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For making Locked On Warriors your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter at Kylen Mills, and follow the host of the Krueg Show, Larry Krueger, on Twitter at Sports Larry K. Larry, by the way, your YouTube show is blowing up, dude. Congratulations on that. Those sub numbers are just like exploding. Another comment, by the way, this is from Matt Brotherton. Memphis rotation has been playing 9 to 10 guys a game. The Warriors have really only been playing 8. I don't agree with that, but will this cause fatigue if the series goes 6 or 7 games for the Dubs? I'll answer that in a moment. And Larry, maybe you can answer that in addition to your prognosis for what's going to happen between the Warriors and Grizzlies.
Well, I mean, first of all, we all know, usually a playoff rotation is about 8 deep. So, if you play 9, you're the exception. If you play 10, that's a super rarity. So I don't really factor that in too much in this series. I think Kylen hit on something that I think is important. I think Golden State can challenge Memphis, but the key in this series is going to be, by putting Poole and Clay and Steph out there and making Memphis defend. I think there's a couple keys. Offensively, you got to get Poole in that rhythm that he was in at the beginning of the last round, not what he looked like at the end of the round. I think that's key for the Warriors on that end of the floor. The other thing that Kylen brought up was Kuminga. I think I need to see more minutes out of Kuminga and more minutes out of GP2, because I want to see, and it doesn't matter to me if it's Memphis or Minnesota. I need GP2 with some extended minutes on John Morant or Anthony Edwards. You have one of the greatest on-ball defenders in the league today. Use him. And you have Kuminga, who is fresh because you've spotted him throughout the year, and he's probably the best athlete on the team, and he has incredible length. And to me, the one downside, if you're saying what's Memphis, does Memphis have a weakness? It's that the Desmond Baines, the Dylan Brookses, they don't have great length and athleticism. You can close out on those guys and make them feel your defensive pressure with the length that you have. And if you play Peyton, if you play Kuminga, as Kylen suggested, I think that advantage on the defensive end is going to help you on the offensive end, because you want to make sure that Desmond Bain and that John Morant are fatigued at the end of these games. And the best way to do that is to make them, have to free themselves up against a bigger, longer, more athletic defender, for significant minutes over the course of 4 quarters. So I think that's a huge key.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And the Grizzlies, by the way, have not been shooting great from 3 either in the postseason, which is really important. And I don't agree that it's just the 8-man rotation. I mean, ideally, I think we're going to see Iguodala because he's such a great matchup against the Grizzlies. I mean, the Grizzlies are full of these 6'8", 6'9" guys that cause problems for people. And that's where Iguodala comes into play. Kylen, I'm totally with you. I think Kuminga is going to see minutes. Might even see Moody play some minutes. And this comment, by the way, is from Sandris again. The Grizzlies don't scare me because the mistakes that Timberwolves make, the Warriors are not making. Here's what I'll say to that. And I love your feedback from this comment. I was a lot more worried about the Grizzlies before watching them play the Timberwolves. They were like, I consider them to be the biggest threat to the Warriors. But with the number of mistakes they're making, I mean, you're seeing the inexperience. You're seeing a lot of sloppiness. And John Morant, by the way, Larry, that is just a headline matchup. Gary Payton II taking on John, that series, that is just pure gold. I'm so excited for that. But does this series make you less worried about the Grizzlies? Kylen, I'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that side. After seeing this series, I feel much better about the matchup. I want to bring up something I heard in an interview. I can't remember. I think it was Bones Highland. I saw on Altitude TV, which airs the Nuggets, and he brought up a comment that I think still holds true. He said, I don't think there's a team in this playoffs that has the experience and the veteranship that the Golden State Warriors have. And when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they're on the opposite end of that. And I think that does make a huge difference when it comes down to how difficult it is to win closeout games. Like we were talking about before Game 5. I mean, the same thing goes for the Grizzlies. Like after seeing just some of the mistakes, and we talked about it before the Warriors series with young players like Jordan Poole, you're going to see some mistakes. You're going to see some sloppiness. You're going to see some nerves. I don't think the Grizzlies are playing with the same amount of confidence they played with in the regular season because they haven't been here before. And I think you have to take that into consideration, up against the Warriors this veteran team with, the big three who've won multiple championships. So when it comes down to like seeing the Grizzlies potentially close out the Warriors, like I just don't see it. I just don't think they're quite there. I think they need more experience. They've now got a playoff series under their belt, and I think they could be contenders maybe down the road, but I don't see that this year after watching this series. I think that their, just inexperience has caught up with them.
Yeah, and Bantha Person writes, should the Dubs sweep, it would be a pleasant surprise. And they echo your sentiments, Larry, about GP2 on Jaw. That's a matchup I'm so excited for. What do you think, Larry? I mean, before the playoffs, I personally view the Grizzlies as a legitimate threat. I'm feeling a lot better. Man, what do you think?
Well, I really think that the Grizzlies coach deserves Coach of the Year. And I really think that they played with almost a focus and an energy in the regular season that the rest, that other teams didn't play to this year. And I think what's going to happen in Game 1 is I think they're going to be shocked by the Golden State team that they see compared to the Golden State team that they saw. They beat a Golden State team 3 out of 4. That Golden State team now has their full attention because of the way the regular season went. And now you're going to get the full attention of a championship caliber team that is properly scared, right? The Golden State has got appropriate amount of fear based on those regular season matchups. But now Golden State's going to bring the A game. And now they're going to bring the incredible intensity, and they're going to bring everything they've got for Memphis because they understand what Memphis, is to them. It's been a hard team for them to beat, but I don't think Memphis has another level to get to.
Yes.
And I think we kind of saw that in this last series against Minnesota. They played so well in the regular season, and that's a credit to Taylor Jenkins, but they don't have that next level to get to. Or if they do, I don't think they can get to it consistently. And I think they're going to be shocked in game one by the level that Golden State's playing at. And I think that game one's going to set the tone for the rest of the series.
That is poetry in motion right there. When we come back, and I know program directors and bosses hate that word. So how about in just a moment, we're going to talk more about the Warriors, and the Jordan Poole angle is very interesting because he didn't finish the last game. He's been battling an injury, and it got a few people in the comment section bringing him up. But first, got to talk about a longtime sponsor of this program, BetOnline, and this is where both of you can be fully involved in this ad read because if you go to betonline.net, they have lines available right now, and here's a couple of interesting ones. The 76ers are going to be playing the Miami Heat in the next round. And the Miami Heat are minus 170 in terms of being favorites in that series. Who do you two like? Starting with you, Kylen.
This is actually intriguing because the 76ers after that trade, I don't know. I think the 76ers are contenders.
Wow.
That being said, I still like the Heat to win the series, and they do have that home court advantage, but I think this is going to be extremely competitive. I won't be shocked if we see that series go to 7 games. Like, I'm serious. I like the Heat, but the 76ers are playing incredibly well. They were dominant in this last series. I love the trade and the movement they made, and, I think it's going to be competitive.
Agreed. What do you think, Larry?
I like the Heat. I mean, efficiency. I think they're the team that in a lot of ways people are sleeping on,
I agree.
I don't know why exactly, because, I think Spoelstra is as good a coach as there is in the league. And they've got some real winners there. I mean, you feel the thing about Miami is Duncan Robinson can light you up anytime. So you always have to be fearful of that. And then between Lowry and Butler, man, you just feel the will of the Heat. I like Miami. I'm not sure it's going 7, but I like Miami for sure.
I think Miami is a very legitimate threat. You're right. I don't understand why people are sleeping on them. For some reason, a lot of media members have forgotten how good of a player Jimmy Butler is. Tyler Hero, another sharpshooter. Bam Adebayo has been in a solid center this year, and their focus is defense. What Trae Young was, is that his name, Trae Young? Am I dropping a brain fart there? What's his last name? For the Atlanta Hawks.
Trae Young's with the Hawks.
Trae Young.
You
Okay,
got it.
sorry.
Oklahoma's finest.
So Trae Young made a great comment in the post game after they got eliminated, which is that it doesn't matter who's playing for the Heat; it's the system that is so effective defensively, and they have the talent to implement it. And you're right, Eric Spoelstra. He's a great coach. He's been in this game for I don't know how many years now. What do you two think about the Mavericks and Suns? I was not expecting that to be a series that I deem competitive. Now I think it's going to be wide open. Larry, let's continue with you. What do you think about the Mavericks and the Suns? What are you seeing in that series?
Well, what I'm seeing is the Mavericks getting healthy and starting to really play well. Now, when you take a star away from a team and then all of a sudden other guys have to rise up, then you bring that star back to the team, and now you have something that's really rolling. So I think because of the Luka injury makes the Mavericks more dangerous because now they've got other guys who are in rhythm, other guys who have gotten run. Now you bring Luka back. He's in full flight. And I like Dallas to extend Phoenix. I also don't think Phoenix can blow anybody out anymore. I think Phoenix looks like, especially with the Booker injury, they're either gonna win, they're gonna lose, or they're gonna win by edging by going forward until they get Booker. I don't see them blowing anybody's doors off. So I think it's going to be a close series, even though I think Phoenix will win the series and remain in control of it throughout. But I think Dallas is going to push them and extend them.
I think the Suns win it. I also think it's going to be extended, but it's funny, Larry, you bring up how the Luka injury actually makes the Mavs better. I feel like it's so comparable to the Warriors, and I almost feel like the Steph injury late in the season made the Warriors better because it forced Jordan Poole to step up and really take on more of a facilitator role and also forced him to build more of a chemistry with Klay Thompson. And I actually think, like, silver lining, of course, you never want Steph Curry or Star to be hurt, but silver lining, I feel like it forced other players around him to really step up their game to the point where they, started off this playoff series rolling with Steph coming off the bench. Like, that's incredible. So just got to mention that. But yeah, I think the Suns win it. I think they will extend them. The Mavs looked very, very dangerous this last series. However, hats off to CP3. I know people in the Bay hate him, but he played incredible in that last game.
So I think you might be muted.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, Larry, you were saying I was muted like a jackass. That's like the second time this week I've done that.
I was afraid it might be my computer, so I didn't want to say anything. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, say something, please, because I'm jumping so all over the place, and if I'm coughing or something, I'm muted. That's my bad. I was just trying to say betonline.net. It's where the action starts, and if you want to bet on the series, Kylen, I was just going to quickly throw in that the Suns are favored minus 275, and the Mavericks are plus 230. Huge line in favor of the Suns. Larry, I was going to throw it back to you. First, a couple comments here. Steve Wilton writes, the Nuggets showed that you can get Poole off his game by bullying him. Is Poole hiding a injury in his elbow? And I think he wrote something else too. I just want to add this as well. Has Larry paid his bet yet? Folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, Larry is wearing a Dodgers hat and Dodger blue. That is the penance for the bet that we made. So I hope it answers that. Kylen, I missed today's press conference. The Warriors had a press conference like they do nearly every day during the playoffs. Has there been any update on Jordan Poole? We saw him injure that. I don't know if it's an elbow. I haven't heard anybody address in terms of what that specific injury is. I personally found solace in that they were putting a heating pad on it and not ice. That is a great sign for an injury. But with that said, I mean, Poole did kind of struggle. He did. He struggled in game 4. Didn't have much of a better game in game 5. He didn't even play at the end of the game. I know foul trouble kept him out for a little bit, but I think the moment was just really big at the same time. What is going on with Jordan Poole? I'll start with you, Kylen. And are you worried about him? Do we hear anything from the press conference today? Your thoughts?
Yeah, on the presser, no update on Jordan Poole. Listen in on that. Today was really a maintenance day for the Warriors is what they said. Guys just kind of coming in, shooting around, staying loose, like nothing major going on. From what I've heard, no one in the Warriors organization believes that it is going to be any type of long-term or serious injury, or at least that's how they're playing it off. Not something of concern. I mean, I think the big thing right now is that you want the Grizzlies and Timberwolves to push that game 7 because the more time he has to rest and to heal, if there is a tweak, there is any inflammation, there is, some type of minor issue going on, is that the best thing for the Warriors right now is for the Grizzlies and Timberwolves to extend that series so he has time to rest. I mean, that's the big advantage of winning in 5 and potentially facing an opponent who's going to 7 games. As far as Jordan Poole goes, though, in his last couple of games, he was knocked off his game. And whether that injury was a factor, I don't know. He tries to play it off like it wasn't a factor. But I think that this next game 1 is going to be really telling. It's going to be, a huge bounce back game for him. We saw him come out just incredibly and explode in his first ever playoff game. So he set the bar really high. Whereas I said I expected him to be dealing with some of those nerves, to be maybe seeing some of that inexperience be a factor for him early in the season. However, I think we saw on the tail end of that series a little bit of the inexperience in that, you've got to be able to respond when you are getting knocked around. And he got knocked around and they weren't, they were taking it to Jordan Poole. You've got to be able to respond. And also something that Steph Curry has said that he's talked to Jordan Poole about as well is that the playoffs, and if you want to make a run, the playoffs are a marathon, not a sprint. You've got to be able to stay even keeled. You've got to be able to show up and be ready every single game. And, I think he's in the thick of it right now. This is his first experience. I think right now the focus has got to be rest up, come up even bigger in game one, and be ready to respond and bounce back, because he was. I think he was thrown off his game at the tail end of the series.
Yeah, Larry, I would love your thoughts on Jordan Poole, man. And for people that aren't familiar, because Larry, you talk so much about the Niners and Giants, rightfully so, but people forget you also played basketball, and you're a brilliant mind when it comes to scouting, especially. What do you think is going on with Jordan Poole? We did see a drop off in games 4 and 5. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think this is actually a really key factor. Michael Malone said at the end of game 1, and then he said it again at the end of game 2, that Golden State needs to feel our pressure. And he kept using that expression. They need to feel us out there. Well, so they kept dialing up more pressure, more pressure, more pressure. I think the guy who felt it as the series went on was, in fact, Jordan Poole. So, guys, I think it's actually a really key factor. Golden State is borderline unstoppable when Jordan Poole is in full thrust. When he's rolling, everybody, the Clay, Steph, those guys are going to be there. Jordan Poole may be there. He may not be there. To me, the fact that Golden State started the last series with some urgency to the point where they brought Steph Curry off the bench, some urgency to get Poole in rhythm. I think they need to begin this series the exact same way. Yeah. Not necessarily with Steph coming off the bench, but with the emphasis being, let's get Jordan Poole going early, because when he gets rolling, there's an overwhelming feel to their offensive attack. And when he's not going, it's a little. You feel the team kind of pressing a little bit on the offensive end of the floor. So I think getting Poole rolling early is got to be one of the keys to not just this series, but every series Golden State plays going forward.
Yeah, Jordan Poole's had a rough 2 games. In game 4, he finished with 11 points on just 3 of 10 shooting, and then in game 5. He only scored 8 points again on 3 of 10 shooting. So, and the 3-point shot was not falling for him. He was making a difference out there, but ultimately, you're right. We've seen a drop off, and that's going to be wildly important. If we don't see Jordan Poole, kicking ass like he has been, this could be a struggle for the Warriors. I want to throw out here SRI saying it's also the first time for Wiggins moving on to the second round. How do you evaluate his first round, and will he be a factor in round 2? Kylen, what are your thoughts on that?
I liked what I saw from Andrew Wiggins. I liked actually the starting lineup, and I think it's interesting. I saw another question roll through here. Could the Warriors potentially run a lineup of Steph, Clay, Poole, GP2, Draymond? Would that be too small against Memphis? And that just kind of got me thinking about Wiggins' role. And I do think that's too small. I mean, GP2, 6'2", 6'3". I think Andrew Wiggins did well, but like you mentioned, I just think the way that he comes out in game 1, he's another player that I think you need to get him rolling. Like, I think you need to get him rolling, and you need to get his confidence up. I love to see him continue to attack the basket. I think that's something we've talked about a lot all season, and I want him to be aggressive. And another thing is that his size and what he does bring to the table is going to be a huge factor if they play the Grizzlies, as we've talked about, because of their presence inside. Like, Andrew Wiggins is going to have to mix it up. Like, he's going to need to elevate his game, if you ask me.
Larry, your thoughts on Wiggins in the second round, and also on the fact that whether or not the Warriors can go small with GP2 replacing Wiggins in the lineup.
Yeah,
Wiggins sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. I kind of feel like he had some incredibly important moments though in this last series, on both the offensive end and the defensive end. There were a couple games there, Si. We talked in the post game about how he had 3 or 4 of the key, sequences in the final stretch. So he's a key cog. But the one thing with Wiggins is, don't let him see the box score. I don't care how many minutes he plays. I don't care how many shots he takes. I don't care how many points he scores. I don't care. And I don't think he should care either. Just go out there and just run the floor, attack the rim, drive, and there's enough perimeter shooters. Attack the rim offensively and just D people up with aggression on defense, and don't worry what it equates to. I don't care if he scores 10, 20. I don't want him looking at the box score for his minutes, his points. I think that's where he kind of falls into different lulls and ruts, is when he starts, I should be, from the money I'm making, I should be scoring this. I should be doing that. Don't focus on that. Show up to win the game, sequence by sequence. attack the rim on offense, aggressive energy on defense, and we'll live with whatever numbers come from that.
Dude, that's a great call. I think that's a very astute call, is that if Wiggins just doesn't focus on the numbers, I think it's easier said than done. I'm pretty sure he's going to look at it regardless. But you're right. I mean, Wiggins is going to be a vitally important player in this series just because the Grizzlies are long. By the way, we all know haters exist. And this is from Michael. I don't know whatever was going on with that first part of your name. These people know nothing. Here's what I'll say to you, Michael. If you're going to critique, I'm all down for it. Be specific. Don't just throw these vague generalities like, oh, these people know nothing. How so? What do we not know that we're refusing to satisfy your basketball knowledge with? We want to quench your thirst. Be specific and we'll help you out. But vague, hateful comments like that are going to get you nowhere. And then how likely is it Lee and JT have played their last non-garbage time minutes ever for the Warriors? I think very likely. What are your thoughts? Are we ever going to see Damian Lee or Juan Toscano-Anderson again in this series and maybe ever for the Warriors?
Interesting. Yeah, I think we have. I think we very likely have seen their last non-garbage time minutes. Keep in mind garbage time. But when it came to, for me, looking at the playoff rotation, like Damian Lee and JTA were at the bottom. And it is a shame because this Warriors team is so deep. And, who's to say on another team they wouldn't be contributing, factors in a rotation. But to me, I just think I would like to see more Jonathan Kuminga off the bench. Andre Iguodala, if he gets healthy, I think he's a huge factor. Like, where does JTA fit into that? Like, he just doesn't, unfortunately, like, I just think what Iguodala brings to the table, Jonathan Kuminga, and then some of the other typical role players that we've been seeing, like, I feel like they have a good rotation down. I do like what I think was mentioned earlier is that I wouldn't mind seeing Moses Moody. Remember, he went on some runs late in the season, and I do think that if for some reason the Warriors are fatigued, they are dealing with injuries, because again, the playoffs are a marathon, not a sprint, or if some reason they need to look deeper into their bench, I would look to Moses Moody before I would look to Damian Lee.
Wholeheartedly with you. Moses Moody has shown a maturation. I forgot someone said that he had an old soul. I forgot where that attribution came from, but I want that old soul out there. Larry, what are your thoughts, man? Is this the last time we see Damian Lee, Stephen Curry's brother-in-law, and Juan Toscano-Anderson, Oakland's own? Is this it? Did we lose you, Larry? Oh, he's gone quiet on us. Can you hear us again now? Yeah, I'm looking at you, buddy. Yeah,
right, for some reason, my audio is. So let me try it again.
All right, can you hear me?
I don't know if you can hear me. But can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it.
All right, I can't hear you right now. But Damian Lee, I think, is going to be heard from again, because I think Damian Lee is an important offensive player, even though it doesn't look like it on paper. I think he could contribute. I agree with Kylen, though, too, about Moses Moody. I think Moody and Lee potentially could help. I think JTA is definitely not going to get any more minutes. I mean, he's a nice player and he does some nice things, but I don't think he's going to make any impact at all.
I love you in that Dodger blue, Larry. Oh no, you can't even hear me. Leave and come back. If you can read lips, leave, come. There we go. Okay. And then Larry will join us in a second, because the one final thing I want to address is predictions. I mean, I think it's, again, I feel incredibly confident. Oh, never got Larry back, I hope. There we go. Can you hear us now, Larry?
Yeah, I got you now.
So, Larry, I'm not confident enough to make bet. First of all, I want to say this. To me, the gamblers of the world are very brilliant when it comes to making calls on sports. Bob Voulgaris, I don't know if you two are familiar with him. Kylen, do you know who he is?
No. What?
Larry, with Bob Voulgaris?
No.
So Bob is the former director of quantitative research and development for the Dallas Mavericks. But the way he got that job was because he is one of the most prolific NBA sports bettors on the planet. His success rate was so notorious that the Mavericks decided, we want you to work for us. And he did for a long time. He was actually directly responsible for Seth Curry being traded from the Mavericks to the 76ers for Josh Richardson. I thought that was a dumb trade. So did the Mavericks, because he got kicked out after that. But nonetheless, he knows the stuff. The man actually makes a ton of money just simply betting on basketball. And I heard him say he thinks the Warriors are going to win the Western Conference, and it's not even going to be that close. I totally agree with him. And people forget the statisticians who set the lines for the bookies, whether it's in Vegas or wherever, these folks have PhDs in statistics. Like, these are brilliant human beings. So when you see those lines, always give a little respect to them. But again, I love the fact that Bob Voulgaris picked the Warriors to win handily. And this leads to prediction time. Let's say it's a Grizzlies. We're going to say, for the sake of argument, if the Timberwolves pull this thing off, I will be blown away. In fact, I'll bet someone on that if anybody thinks they're that confident. But what's your prediction? Kylen, I will start with you. Warriors, Grizzlies, who wins how many games? And why?
Okay. I think that it's going to be a very tough and competitive series. Like I said earlier in the program, I don't think that the Grizzlies have enough and are quite there to close out the Warriors, especially after what we saw in their series that's going on right now, assuming they make it out against the Timberwolves. A couple of keys. Now, I do think the Warriors come out of this. I could see it going to 6 games even, potentially. I don't know that I see 7. But a couple of keys. First of all, I saw someone make a comment about how many minutes for GP2. GP2 is going to be a huge factor. He is going to be one of the keys. I think GP2 needs 20 plus minutes a night. I think he had around 26 minutes in this past game, in the closeout, game 5. And I think that GP2 is going to be huge. We know that the Grizzlies, we've talked about all program, their size. GP2 is out here blocking Nikola Jokic. Like, you need his defensive prowess and energy out there on the floor. I think he's going to be a huge factor. I want to see Jonathan Kuminga get some more time. I think his presence, his rim protection, his size and rebounding ability, he could be huge in this series, just based on what they're going up against in the Memphis Grizzlies. I think getting Jordan Poole going, like Larry mentioned earlier, is going to be huge. I think he needs to come out in game 1 and really set the tone. And I think that if all 3, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, are clicking on all cylinders and they come out the way they did in game 1 of the series against the Nuggets, I think the Warriors are going to take care of business. I think that those are probably some of the biggest keys that I can think of. I'm really on the fence, and I'd be curious as to what you guys think about the Warriors starting lineup would be for game 1 against the Grizzlies, because that's something I've been throwing around in my head as well. And I don't have a hard answer for that, but I'm going to say Warriors in 6.
Well, why don't you, before Larry and I answer, why don't you answer your own question? I'm actually very curious. I'm glad you brought that up. Who do you think is going to be starting for the Warriors in game 1 against the Grizzlies?
So I think this is tough just because we've talked about Grizzlies led the NBA in rebounding this season. We know we've been talking all program about their, inside presence. But I also think that Kevon Looney has kind of played like crap as of late. Like, I have not been impressed with what he's done. I think this last game 5, he had a nice game. He kind of came in a couple minutes into the first quarter, and he did what he needed to do. But I almost like going with the small ball lineup again and throwing it at them, running the floor, and we need those, like I said, we need those 3 to really make some shots and really push the Grizzlies early, and then you throw in Kevon Looney. So that's, I think, what makes it tougher for me is based on how Kevon Looney has played as of late versus the size the Grizzlies have. But I've been in love with the small ball lineup, you guys. So it's hard for me to want to get away from it because I do think that Draymond Green can fill that role. And I think Andrew Wiggins, someone said it in the comments, low-key had a good series.
Yes, he did.
So I say we go small ball, not Gary Payton small ball, but small ball.
Larry, your thoughts? Who I guess 3-part question. Who do you think is going to be the starting lineup? Who do you think wins the series and how many games, sir?
I think it's going to be a really hard-fought competitive series, but I think Golden State's going to win it in 5. And, Kerr loves Looney. I mean, he calls him Loon. Yes. I've interviewed Kerr enough in the last couple of years to know how he feels about Looney. And it's like he's Looney he loves Looney. I mean, there's a love affair there. So I would say Looney starts. But I do think Gary Payton has to get extended minutes on Ja Morant. And if that means that Payton closes, then Payton closes. And if they forget about Payton, then they're going to lose that game. Mm-hmm. They forgot about Payton in this last round against Denver in one of the games, and they lost.
Game 4.
Don't forget about GP2. If he's healthy, you have a major secret weapon there. You have maybe the best on-the-ball defensive player in the league. Use him. I mean, especially when you've got Memphis where they've got perimeter shooters, but then their engine is Ja, and he's got that ball on a string, and he loves to pound the dribble and move all over the place. Throw Payton on him and force the ball out of his hands. If you make Desmond Bain and Dylan Brooks initiate a little bit, you're going to find that they're not nearly as scary if Jaw's initiating and then finds them, and you got open 6'4" Desmond Bane or open Dylan Brooks squaring up the shoulders, those shots are down all day. I mean, Bane has taken his game to a different level, and you better respect it. But he's way better on a catch and shoot situation. Make him handle a little bit and force Jaw to expend some energy on the offensive end of the floor, trying to shake GP2, and I think it'll benefit you in the fourth quarter.
So how many games in the series?
Five.
Wow.
But 5 hellaciously close games.
Wow, 5. Man, we just totally shifted gears here from the last round.
Yeah, Larry, what happened? 180 here. All right, what's the bet? What's the bet?
It's my Dodger hat. It's my Dodger hat. Doing it for me.
Well, I mean, I agree with you too. So I don't think there's no bet. If you could come up with a good bet, I'm all ears. I love your confidence in this next round. I'll say this: you're absolutely right that Kerr loves Kevon Looney, and rightfully so. He's the Iron Man. Kerr said that it should be a badge of honor that he played all 82 and he's been part of previous championship teams. It also showed open-mindedness, which has been somewhat of a critique of mine of Kerr in terms of the starting lineup last game, because I did not think he would bench Looney. It showed a willingness of him to actually try instead of just sticking with the tried and true. With that said, I really do believe, and I could be wrong on this because who knows what's going on in Kerr's mind, but I do believe that Jordan Poole is going to go back to the bench for the series, just because this Grizzlies team is big. And you're right, Kevon Looney had a horrible series against the Nuggets. That was just, I don't see how you could spin that in any regard as a positive, but he got owned largely because you had someone named Nikola Jokic that he had to deal with. And I don't know anyone outside of Draymond Green in this game who could defend him effectively. Draymond was phenomenal in that series. That goes down in the history books as one of the all-time great performances to handle that guy. The Timberwolves don't have anyone like Nikola Jokic. So I do think Kevon Looney can handle the Brandon Clarks, can handle the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s, can handle the Xavier Tillmans, the Steven Adams, whoever it is that the Grizzlies throw out there as they're big. I think Kevon can handle that. Whereas Nikola Jokic again just owned him. So I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see Kevon Looney. I think we're going to see a lot of Wiggins. I think we're going to see Jordan Poole as a 6th man again. And if he lights it up, or if the series changes, who knows where that goes. And this is just a prediction. This is not based in any form of evidence or anything like that, but that would be my guess. And I think it's Warriors in 6. They're going to be the road team. Game 6 will be at Chase Center. But I'm with both of you in that this is going to be a tight series. I don't think any of these are going to be blowouts. So there we go. That's how I feel. Any last words or thoughts? Again, you can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter at Kylen Mills. You can watch Kylen on KRON 4 with a daily sportscast. Anything you'd like to promote, and any last thoughts or words about the Warriors and their upcoming series, or just the Nuggets that they played?
Well, I have one last comment other than, you kind of jogged a thought. Brandon Clark is the wild card factor in this series. Brandon Clark had 21 and 15 the other night. He's 6'8". He's got a 40-inch vertical. He's been in the league now. He's he came in as kind of a jumping jack player. Now he's a smart player. So you got a smart player with a ton of athleticism who just had a 21 and 15 game. He is the wild card. You cannot, with this team's got Bane can go for 30. Brooks can go for 30. Morant can go for 30. They've got inside players. But if Brandon Clark goes for 21 and 15, that is going to be a huge negative. So I would say don't let Brandon Clark score in transition, and make sure that he doesn't go off, because if he goes off now, those other guys only need to score 15, and then you're looking at a really, really maybe insurmountable type situation. So I think Clark is very much the wild card.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And Kylen, I know we were wrapping things up and I told you to finish it, but then this comment came in and I actually want to address this between the three of us. A friend of mine is a Memphis fan. He keeps bringing up last season's play-in. What can I tell her to convince her this is different? Do either of you want to take this?
I was at last season's play-in. This is not the same Warriors team. I mean, this was the Warriors without the big three. This was like at the very beginning of Jordan Poole's comeuppance, but he wasn't quite there yet. And then the Warriors like transformed their bench this offseason. I mean, the weapons they're bringing in off the bench are not what we saw last season. Like, I'm sorry, but like Kent Bazemore is what we were looking at last season. Brad Wanamaker, like coming in off the bench. And this season, I love the addition of Otto Porter Jr. I think Nemanja Bjelica has had some great contributions. And then Jonathan Kuminga, who we keep talking about, someone made a comment, shake the tail feather or something like that and start JK in this series. That's pushing it a little bit for me just because he is a rookie, but Jonathan Kuminga is an incredible athlete and has huge potential to be an all-star in this league. So, I mean, to me, if you look at some of the supporting cast from last season to this season, and then you're adding Klay Thompson to the mix, like, come on, compared to where the Warriors were at, it's not even close. So not the same team as who we saw last season, that play-in game. Not even a comparison. So I just think you got to bring up all those changes to the roster and just say, hey, look at how they're playing right now and who the Warriors have. They have a championship caliber roster. Last season, that was not the case.
Why do we got to talk about old stuff?
Well, look, all I'll say is SRA. Just tell your
question.
friend.
Why do we got to talk about old stuff? One word. Warriors last year didn't have it. This year they have it. It's called belief. Last year they had no belief. This year, they believe they're going to parade down the streets of Oakland after a championship. That's a huge difference.
Agreed. And I was just going to say, all you got to do, SRA, is throw three names at your friend: Kent Bazemore, Brad Wanamaker, Michael Mulder. That's who was playing heavy minutes for the Warriors last year. So
right now we got GP2 coming in off the bench, and it's like we're talking about him being a key of the series. Can you imagine, like, oh, Brad Wanamaker, we need him to come in and guard Ja Morant? Like, it's just not even, there's no comparison there.
And Larry, real quick, he throws out, it's time to shake feathers, start Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe later in the series, I could see that being a slight possibility, but you're not going to see him starting early on. I mean, right? Is that a fair assessment?
I think they've shown they're pretty protective of the young guys, but there's a role for Kuminga because of his length and because the lack of length from Bane and some of their perimeter shooters. I think it's a great matchup for Golden State. You can't let Desmond Bane go off. He can't go for 35. So you're going to need to bother him, and Kuminga can extend out on those shooters and shut down some of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I guess last question here. Do you think Belly gets minutes? I feel like a very vocal in the very vocal minority of people who bring his name up. The Warriors were playing great with him, and he vanished by game 5. I don't know why that is. Do you think Belly makes a comeback in this series?
He's got some size. I think we could see Belly. I think just because of the matchup, he obviously was playing really well late in the season. And like you said, he kind of fizzled out by the end of this last series, but I don't think he did anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's any point where I'm like, wow, Belly really played like crap in this game. They need to cut him from the rotation. And I think he could have a role. I think he definitely could have a role in the series. I think based on the matchup, like I said, he's got some size. I am concerned though, because I think Jonathan Kuminga could take those minutes, especially if they're keeping, their rotation to 8 or 9. It's kind of a tough, like I said, the Warriors are deep, so I think it's tough, but I do think that we could see Belly get minutes for sure.
Yeah, I don't understand what happened there. I honestly think Belly was
he didn't do anything wrong. No,
nothing wrong. And again, the Nuggets were such a better matchup for him because they don't have the speed the Grizzlies do. So I don't know if you're going to see Belly in this series.
He's slow.
And he is, and my one critique of Kerr is that he's very slow to react in terms of making adjustments with rotations. So I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah. Any last words, Krueger? I mean, the Krueg Show is rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Congrats on that venture, man.
But
yeah. What's anything you want to promote or say before we wrap things up?
No, just check out the Krueg Show on YouTube, and it's growing like wildfire, and we'll be. Cy will be joining us after every Warrior playoff game. Kylen, you've got the standing invite. We'd love to have you.
Are you coming, Kylen?
Yes, I will join whenever I'm not at the game covering the game. So I was supposed to be at game 5. I told you, Cy, I caught a cold actually coming back from my wedding. So I ended up watching from my couch. But road games, whatever. I'm in. I'm down.
Good.
Good
deal.
Go ahead.
You guys are fun.
Well, I was just going to say we're having a lot of fun on the Krueg Show. Check us out on YouTube, and go Warriors, right? Go Warriors. It's they've gotten through. They've flipped the switch. They've gotten into their playoff mode. I think it's going to be really tough to unseat them. They're going to be a really tough out going forward.
Yeah, and again, you can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter at Kylen Mills. Where did you go for your honeymoon, by the way? I didn't. I saw the wedding in Chicago. Congrats! You looked ravishing in that dress. Beautiful job, well done. Where did you go for the fun part of it? The honeymoon. Did you actually enjoy one?
So the honeymoon was coming back and covering Game 5 at Chase Center. That was supposed to be the honeymoon. We postponed, or we decided to delay.
That's a rough moon. That's a rough moon.
We decided to delay our honeymoon. We're going to Hawaii in July. So time of year is way too busy for sports. My husband, Charlie, also is a sports anchor across town at a different station. So too much going on right now. We took the week before the wedding off, actually, because I'm from Chicago. So we were planning cross country. We had a ton of last minute stuff to do. Took the week before off, delayed the actual honeymoon, the fun part, until July. So we're in it to win it when it comes to the playoffs, man. Like, this is some dedication right here.
I love it.
We're back, and I got back in the swing of things on Tuesday. So we're here for the Warriors run.
That is dedication. And Larry, in case people were wondering and jumped in late, why is Larry Krueger wearing a Dodgers hat? It's the bet. That was his way of paying up. He's representing the team that he hates the most. You could take the hat off if you want now, Larry. You're good, man. Congratulations. By the way, the goatee is a good look, Larry. I'm digging it, man.
Trying it out.
Stick with that, dude.
Let me know what you think.
What do you think, Kylen? I would take Kylen's opinion much more of mine, but
it's not really a goat because there's no top half. It's just really the chin.
Okay,
front.
well, Kylen,
I think it looks good. I think it looks good. Rock it. I mean, I think it looks even better in Dodger blue. Like, I guess you're just gonna have to convert at this point. Like, it's kind of your color, Larry. Like, look at you. You're glowing.
My little league Dodger hat.
I love it. Fun times to both of you. Thank you so much for coming on. Go Warriors. I guess they don't play again until they could play Sunday. I keep forgetting about that. Like, this series could start in 2 days. It's pretty wild. So I'm done. We done? We out?
We're done.
Peace, everyone. Thank you. Go Warriors.